I'd like to adjourn the Board of Education closed session at 7:02. Reconvene the regular Board of Education session also at 7:02. Roll call show that Mr. Hammond is excused. All other staff and board members are present. Mr. Gillen, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Certainly, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's see, we will go on to the report on the Board of Education closed session. No action was taken. The order of business, we are going to change informational item 1 to follow H2 recognition and move the action item number 7. Do we have any other changes? Hearing none, we will move forward to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of May the 24th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Do you have any comments or questions? Ms. Hove?
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Williams?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Wong?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Moving on to recognitions and communications, the Board of Education would like to congratulate Paul Flores and the Clifton Middle School Hippie Bots on winning the 2017 First Tech Challenge Dutch Open in well, I'm going to have to take a stab at that one, in the Netherlands. How about that? Dr. Throzing, would you like to introduce them?
I would, as Mr. Flores and the Hippie Bots, actually the Hippie Bots will be called up individually as they deserve. But let me just recognize that these first-year robotics students from our middle school represented the United States in a competition in the Netherlands, and not only represented proudly, but succeeded in winning everything. They came out as champions, and we were proud just to have them go. Little did we realize that these first-year students could really put it together, and it really is a testament to their support at school, the leadership and guidance of the teacher, but there's persistence and their creativity. So, Mr. Flores, why don't you join me at the podium? Oops. Mr. Flores, if you join me at the podium. Before we begin, I'd also like to ask Dr. Elizad from Grace Napolitano's office, who's come to recognize our students and our program.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, and champions. It's a great honor to be here once again this year, and I hope you keep it going because I like making it a habit of saluting you every single year. On behalf of Congresswoman Grace Napolitano, we have certificates, congressional certificates for each one of the team members, and it basically reads the same for all. Okay, so it's U.S. Congresswoman Grace F. Napolitano joins the Monrovia Unified School District to congratulate you upon winning the Tech Challenge Dutch Open. Your dedication to the creative students, of the Hippie Bots is to be celebrated. First place, Tech Challenge, Dutch Open, June 14th, signed by the Member of Congress, Grace Napolitano. You want me to present them now? Or do you want...
Good evening. Good to be back. Thank you for inviting the Hippie Bots to be recognized by the board. I'd like to start by thanking those who helped us get here. You know, world-class performances require world-class efforts by everyone involved. This is Gina Ayala, who came on last May and has since been an invaluable contributor to the team. Thank you to Jill Skolton, Dr. Terosian, Principal Jackson, Brian Johnson, and Corey Porter. Thank you to the parents of our Hippie Bots for working tirelessly to put together a tremendous tour of Europe and being able to raise funds. And thank you to the Monrovia community for supporting our international endeavor. Our journey began back in August when 10 eighth graders with no robotics experience became the newest members of the Hippie Bots. Every group of kids takes on their own identity. This group is fun to work with. We have forged strong relationships over the past 10 months, but make no mistake about it, this group knows how to work. There were times when the kids would put in up to 20 hours a week. It can be difficult for adults, let alone eighth graders, to put in so much work and not be able to experience the instant gratification. Everything came together at our big interleague tournament on February 12th, nearly 6 months after we began. The field had 25 teams, 20 of which were made up of high school students. The Hippie Bots won 2 first-place awards, the Compass Award and the Control Award for Mastering Robot Intelligence. In other words, for best programming. This award was earned by programmers Corey and Luke, who had absolutely no programming experience. They would stay hours after school, come in on the weekends and over winter break. I was so proud that they were recognized for their perseverance. Everyone needs to understand that this success does not just happen. It takes innovation, critical thinking, a commitment to achieving excellence. Although the robot is now very well built and consistent, not one aspect of the robot properly worked the first time. But the kids did not hang their heads. They did not get discouraged. They did not feel sorry for themselves. Every time they faced a challenge, they picked up a tool to try to fix the issue. They picked up materials to build something new, or they sat down at the computer and fixed the programming problem. They kept believing both in themselves and in the message I would deliver every meeting, that they were so close to achieving greatness. They personified the ideals of hard work, dedication, and resolve. So as I move forward in discussions with the representatives of First Netherlands on why the Hippie Bots deserve to be the first U.S. team to ever receive an invitation to compete in Europe, my job was easy. All I had to do was tell them of the kids' greatness. After touring Europe, the Hippie Bots went 5-0 in qualifying rounds. They were the #1 team in their division and were the alliance captain. In the quarterfinals, we were on the brink of elimination. The drive team of Matthew, Zach, and Trey did not blink. Unfazed in the moment, they held their composure and rallied to win the next 2 matches and advance. Let's just say we practiced pressure situations. After sweeping in the semifinals, the final set up like a Hollywood script. The charismatic alliance led by the Hippie Bots was matched against a trio of demonstratively older Eastern European teams led by Auto Vortex, one of the top-ranked teams in the world. Again, the Hippie Bots were composed, stuck to the game plan, and emphatically swept the finals for the championship. Not only did these kids put on a masterful performance on the field, they were also articulate in explaining the 8-month engineering process to the judges. This group would have made any American proud by how they served as ambassadors to our nation. I wish all of you could witness the progress and the growth of this team as I have. In addition to winning the tournament, the team was also awarded the Think Award for their excellence in removing engineering obstacles through creative thinking. It was Zach and Jane's chronicling of these designs, redesigns, successes, and fixes in our engineering notebook that earned us the additional recognition. This group was in it for each other and were willing to do whatever it took for the team to be successful. World championships simply do not happen. There is no secret to achieving greatness. Greatness takes what it takes. The cohesion and hard work of this team brings to mind President Kennedy's visit to Nassau. In the middle of his tour, Kennedy saw a man mopping the floor. The president asked the man what he was doing in the middle of his visit. The janitor responded, "Sir, I'm helping put a man on the moon." The janitor knew his role in achieving something greater than himself, as did the Hippie Bots. It was Zach and Jane chronicling every idea. It was Corey and Luke spending days over winter break learning to program the robot, or Matthew and Trey spending hours after school and coming in on weekends to purposefully practice driving, or Zach staying hours after everyone else testing the fine-tuning new designs. It was Hallie and Coleman knowing their roles of publicity, marketing, and social media. It was builders Caleb and Chance cutting sheets of metal and doing the tedious work of drilling holes to help the designs come to life. Everyone had a job, and everyone did the job well. Seeing what our middle schoolers did is going to raise the bar of what European high schools and colleges will expect of themselves. Finally, I just want everyone to know that this is a great group of kids. They are such a pleasure to be around. I wouldn't have pursued the opportunity to spend a week and a half with them in a foreign country if they weren't. Thank you.
And we also have certificates from Assemblymember Chris Holden's office. So I think it might be easier if, As Mr. Flores reads off the names of his students, we hand them their certificates and they go to the center over here. I could use some help in distributing certificates. Maybe this time the board would come to the center and shake their hands and hand them their certificates. Oh, and why don't you give the medals there? We've got a lot going on. We have a lot to distribute. Okay, so. Yeah, so that'll be for the team. So why don't you?
So just read this.
Why don't you hand them this
Okay.
one?
All right. All right, first up we have Zachary Zimkowski. Next we have Corey Spaeth. Luke Shivari. Matthew Delgado. Jane Farrell. Trey Hayworth. Coleman Mitchell. Hallie Phillips. Chance Powers. And Caleb Smith.
We're not as organized as your team, just so you know. We don't have the practice. You guys got way too many words. Good job.
Wait.
Good job.
During this photo op, I think it's appropriate to have the assistant principal of Clifton Middle School, who's also here, and without whose leadership and support, this would never have happened, Mr. Courtney Glass.
Why don't we slide in from the outside? Move in just to make it in the one down picture. We're there now. Kathy, why don't you squeeze them in from the outside?
I get to squeeze them in?
Yeah. All right. Two rows.
Just real quick, because Mr. Flores said it all there. We at Clifton are very proud of our team that went and represented, obviously on the big scheme here, they represented the U.S., but they represented us, and they represented Monrovia and Clifton very well, and we are very proud of them out in Cub Nation. And with just a few words, we do have the boss via satellite, or maybe recorded earlier, but Mrs. Jackson did have a few words to say, so here she is.
Good evening, board members, district administration, Monrovia residents, and employees. My name is Jennifer Jackson, and I am principal at Clifton Middle School. I am at a conference this evening and could not be there tonight to celebrate our amazing HippieBots robotics team. So I wanted to take this opportunity to say a few things. Teacher Paul Flores has done a tremendous job leading this group of young people throughout the year, and each member represents what it means to persevere, collaborate, and prevail. I am so proud of each of you and all you have accomplished, and would not have missed this opportunity to tell you again how amazing you are. Congratulations on your international success. I hope this experience paves the way for future endeavors for each and every one of you. Congratulations, HippieBots.
It's truly an awesome accomplishment. You know, it's one thing to do this from scratch. It's another thing just to be able to be competitive, but to continue to do the very best you can shows where you're at. World champion is something you will always be able to take with you for the rest of your days. Congratulations. Item 2, the Board of Education would like to congratulate the following advancement via individual determination AVID STAR students for exhibiting excellence in performance and leadership during the 2016-17 school year. Dr. Throsian.
Thank you, President Wong, members of the board. I would like to invite Dr. Rial to properly recognize these extraordinary students and present a program that has had a recent resurgence. Dr. Rial.
Thank you. Good evening, board members, Dr. Tarosian, cabinet members, and members of the community. I am very happy to highlight some of our AVID activities and programs that we did this year, talk about what we're going to be doing next year, and then recognizing some AVID superstars. I need this. So why did we bring back AVID? Just really quickly for all of you. We are creating a college-going culture. We are creating a community of scholars. People see these AVID students and scholars as scholars, but more importantly, they see themselves as a community of scholars. We are providing leadership and mentorship opportunities. Teachers are providing leadership for our students. They're mentoring them, and they are also mentoring them in recruiting and leading future AVID students. We are expanding their horizons. Many of our AVID students will be first-generation college attendees, so we are taking them to schools and exposing them to university life. And we are transferring skills, so we are giving them the skills necessary to be academically, to do well academically and be successful. So how did we implement AVID in 2016-17? We had a little over 180 secondary AVID students this year, and with the help of Duke Fairmouth, we trained our AVID college tutors in the summer. And I have a little piece of good news. Pasadena City College has informed us that we are their only off-site federal work-study source, so they are tripling the number of tutors that we will have available in early college and in AVID, so we're really excited about that. We took kids, or actually the coordinators took kids, and the AVID teachers took kids to UCLA, Cal Poly Pomona, Citrus College, Loyola Marymount, and so forth. Here you see the MHS AVID ninth graders at Cal State Fullerton, and our Santa Fe Avid students at Cal State LA. We are teaching our students the Avid strategies such as Cornell notes and tutorials. We are having them reflect on their learning. It's so important. Here you see a student reflecting on some of her favorite activities from the week prior, and you'll see that in science, her favorite activity was taking the SBAC. Yes, so this is good. We're also having students reflect on their difficulties. I have a problem, I don't know how to solve it, and teaching them a systematic way to break it down. What do I already know? What are some key words? And how am I going to present my problem to a group of fellow students so that they can help me solve it myself? Professional development. We provided many professional development opportunities to our teachers and coordinators and administrators, whether that was through the AVID Summer Institute or through AVID classes and professional development at LA County Office of Education. And we used Naviance to explore college and career opportunities, which we'll be doing with even more purpose in the year to come. So I hope you're asking, what's next? So in 17-18, we will be serving over 230 secondary AVID students. And here are some things, there are many things to be excited about, but I picked 3 because I don't have all night, and you don't either. So one of the things that we're gonna be using, one of the resources is the AVID Weekly subscription that we have, or site license that we have. So what AVID Weekly does is it provides reading resources so that teachers can help students with critical reading strategies. So you see there that there's a list of different articles, and they're one-page articles. They're not anything too overwhelming, but one of the examples is ban on texting while driving is not the solution, or spiders could theoretically eat every human on Earth in 1 year. Tell me more, I want to know more. So they're provided in different levels of difficulty and different content areas, and they help teachers and students go through the reading process in a very systematic way. For example, identifying essential information or circling key terms, responding and connecting to the text, and summarizing and clarifying. These are skills that will serve our students while they're here with us and after they leave us. You will see that there are many teacher resources. So if a teacher wants to do a reading activity, they have all the resources that they need to set the expectations, do pre-reading activities with students. They have resources that show them how this connects to Common Core standards, and then provides lesson templates. So once again, this will help teachers take students through the critical reading process so that they are reading and understanding more rigorous texts. And say, for example, a teacher wanted to take it even farther with that spider article or the texting article, and they wanted to do a Socratic seminar. They have the opportunity to click on these various menus, and they get the lesson template that breaks it down activity by activity. And then finally, Costa's levels of thinking, so how to elicit higher level questioning, critical thinking, and answers from students based on the text. So we will be doing that at all 3 AVID schools. You need to know that AVID has come out with a new evaluation instrument. So there's a word up there 11 times, and it is the word school-wide. So the push is to take these excellent strategies and critical thinking skills and not just have them happening in the AVID elective class, but to have them happening school-wide, because we know they're good for kids. And you'll see that the evaluation instrument has added a 4th column, which really is looking at how pervasive these strategies and this culture is, like I said, not just in the AVID elective, but in the entire school. And then finally, we started to do this, and we're gonna do this at all 3 schools next year, which is have the kids take the PSAT 8, 9, or the actual PSAT. So this will give them a score, give them additional practice through the Khan Academy, help them develop their coursework plans, and explore careers. they'll get a report that says, based on how you did on the PSAT 8 or 9, this is the score that we project you getting on the actual SAT. Doing okay in English, but wow, math, you're gonna need to work a little bit harder. Here are some suggestions. And then just some next steps for what they might do to improve their skills. All right, so finally, we get to recognize some STAR Avid students and staff. I'd like to begin by calling up Clifton. We have Assistant Principal Glass here. We have our Avid coordinator, Marilyn Smith. We have one of our Avid elective teachers, Spring Hill DeRose. And we have some students. So do you want to go ahead and call them up?
Yes. Once again, hello, good evening, everybody. Good evening. I have the pleasure tonight of reading some notes regarding our two Clifton Avid students. These notes were written by their teachers, and so this is not coming from me, who knows these young people but sees them occasionally. This is coming from the person who is working with them every day and working with them on the tutorials twice a week and the Cornell Notes strategies and keeping those binders organized in the black hole that is a middle school kid's backpack. So that is who is behind these words. So for our 7th grader, Mr. Damian Alvarado, why don't you come up, stand next to me, buddy, while I read these words. So this is from Mrs. DeRose. The meaning behind the word avid is advancement via individual determination, and this is exactly what Damien has shown for his first year of avid. Damien comes to class every day ready to learn, prepared and focused, and continuously holds himself accountable to the highest standard. Whether the class is participating in group tutorials, Socratic seminars, philosophical chairs, or a teacher-led lecture, Damien gives 100% of his attention, provides academic and social support for his peers, and steps up to any challenge presented. Describing words such as kind, creative, respectful, and responsible are just a few that can be used to showcase his character in class and on campus. Damien's high level of interest in exploring his academic and career options are what make him a true avid student and such a pleasure to have in this class. That's from Mrs. DeRose. Okay, I guess
Recognize kids individually or bring them up as a group?
we have four total.
We have 5. Okay,
I think
all right.
I think you could stand in the center. It's okay. It's okay. Someone's going to be up with you just a minute. Yunwen, why don't you come on up, kiddo? I said that right? Okay. Yunwen. I've been practicing her name since 6th grade. It's one of those things. So this is Yunwen Ramos Vega, and these are words from her 8th grade AVID teacher. At Clifton Middle School, our first year of having the AVID program back was a learning process with some growing pains. Some students found difficulty in acclimating to the program, while others embraced the AVID program, especially the tutorial process. Yunuen Ramos Vega was a student that not only embraced AVID and tutorials, she became a leader and a student who did her best to help other students in the class and also have her opinions heard during class discussions. Yunuen is a diligent and capable student, but also did whatever she could to help out and make our AVID class function at its best. She is caring, intelligent, and a fun-loving person who is well deserving of this recognition. Cub Nation hopes that she can take from the AVID experience and apply what she has learned at MHS and beyond, especially in college. And that is from Mr. Lafayette Guler. Now you get to go. All right, back to you, Dr. Rial.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd like to call up Mrs. Esquer, and the student she'll be recognizing tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here to recognize these wonderful AVID superstars. So my two AVID superstars were 8th graders, and now we have to be respectful and refer to them as the 9th graders that they are. So they are going on to the high school, and while I'm so sad to be losing them at Santa Fe as our superstars, I'm very happy to see their new pathway that they're going to be taking at our high school. Our first student is Daisy Nunez. Thank you. Daisy Nunez is a wonderful representative of our AVID program and of Santa Fe's Cougar Code. She is always respectful, responsible, and ready to learn. She represented the AVID program with the utmost dignity, and though she may be a little shy standing here this evening, she absolutely is able to voice her opinions, her thoughts in her classes, and process along with her classmates to be an active a part of that conversation. It was a joy to see her in the AVID program in action. The other thing I'd like to recognize her for and congratulate her for is that she will be going on to the early college program at the high school, so we're super excited about that pathway for her. In addition, she is going to continue in another pathway, which is Renaissance. So you can see the ambition that we recognize her for tonight is the ambition that she will take forward with her to the high school. So we are very excited and honored to present Daisy Nunez. Our next student is Melvin Galicia. Melvin, too, may be standing here a little shy tonight in front of everyone on camera, but he is also a student who is beyond able and capable of being a part of a productive conversation, again, expressing his critical thinking and showing the growth that he has made not only through our AVID program, but through all of our classes being a student at Santa Fe. He will be moving on to many great things at the high school. He is going to continue on to AVID, so we are super excited to see that this pathway will continue on for him at the high school. In addition to that, he is also taking on another elective in Spanish. So again, you can see why we have chosen these two students to recognize as superstars, because they are that, taking on, again, more at the high school, taking the pathway that they hope to find for themselves as they go through as young high schoolers. So let's recognize Melvin Galicia again, please. Thank you again.
And I just want to mention really quickly that despite a few challenges that they had at Santa Fe, they were able to certify for AVID this year. So they certified at a level 1, and we expect that growth to continue for next year. At this time, I'd like to ask Erica Ramirez to come up and the student that she's recognizing tonight.
Hi, good evening. My name is Erica Ramirez, and I'm the AVID coordinator at Monrovia High School. I'm here to recognize Ariana Walker today, who's this amazing young woman standing next to me. A couple of great things about Ariana is that she is 100% dedicated in class. She exhibits a lot of responsibility. She's always encouraging her fellow students to do well. She's definitely stepped up in regards to leadership, attending, and making sure that we outreach for the AVID program as well, which is key and critical in terms of retention and recruitment for our program. And she's just really stepped up, and she's been a huge role model to the rest of her classmates. So again, I just want to congratulate her, and I'm really looking forward to seeing her again next year as we continue on in 10th grade AVID. Thank you.
Picture time? Yes. That concludes my AVID presentation and recognition. Yes.
So I just want to say thank you to our superintendent for scaring away our audience. With that, we'll move on to item number 7, board policy regarding suicide prevention. Dr. Throsian?
Actually, Dr. Tarosian, can I make a comment before you do that? We've got some people in the audience I just want to share with regarding board policy 5141.2. As our board president indicated, suicide prevention and the company administration regulations. I just wanted to make note of the blueprinters and the likes of the Healing Connections. If you recall, they set the tone for us a couple of years ago at a Golden Bell. Of course, those individuals included Mary Ann Lutz and our wonderful Susan Hirsch, as well as Ulysses Gutierrez. I also like to commend Lisa Manani Lynn, Director of Student Support Services, for her preparations, and for Dr. Jackson for his review in the capacity that he serves as Assistant Superintendent. I thought it was important to share because I've been blessed to be a part of this group, and Healing Connections and the tone that was set by the policies that we entertained tonight should be commended. And just wanted to thank you, Lisa and Dr. Jackson, for your efforts and allowing me to be a part of this. Thank you, Board President.
So tonight it's with great honor that I present the Suicide Prevention Board Policy. But before we begin, I wanted to say that it's without Susan Hirsch that we are ahead of the wave that's coming, because Susan has prepared the district from 4 years back. Even she's been here 30 years. And if you know Susan, you know her passion. And her passion has always been her heart. And she wears it on her sleeve, and she wears it well. When I first arrived in Monrovia, she was one of the very first people to welcome me. And one of the things she said is, Lisa, you must be part of Healing Connections. You must understand the heart of and the beat of the community, because this is who we are. And let me tell you the story. And so we look back in January, and she began to tell me this beautiful story of how she brought the community together, and through the partnerships, Healing Connections grew. Lo and behold, we fast forward to July next month, and we have a new Ed Code 215, that talks about the suicide prevention. And everything within the board policy that you see, the AR, if you look at it, and we're all gonna realize that Susan has her fingerprints all over it. It was a no-brainer when Dr. Kaiser and Dr. Jackson and myself said, no, Susan must be the center and the architect of what we do as we move forward. So Susan will be coming and joining Student Support Services as we build our team. In the board policy, it says that we have to look at specific curriculum that addresses prevention and postvention of suicides. And how are we going to address that? Well, we're going to come together. We're going to bring the forces together, because with Dr. Kaiser and Amy Collier, who's here tonight, they're going to join our team to look at curriculum. With Dr. Catherine Rial, we're going to bring in the counselors. With Kitty Louie, we're going to bring in the school psychologists. Bernadette Williams, our school nurse, she's part of our team because she represents the medical. SRO James Ruano, he represents law enforcement. And what happens when we put it all together? Well, it's a model for the district of copying what is occurring currently at Monrovia High School through the Wellness Center. Susan Hirsch was the idea behind the Wellness Center. And if anyone has had the opportunity to see the Wellness Center, you know that the hard work that she's put in, and how you can literally go down and check off the board policy and AR to know that it's currently in place, other than the curriculum that we are going to work together with Dr. Kaiser and Amy Collier to bring forward as we move ahead. Susan has been there as we have begun to speak to the PTAs and the parent organization groups on what they would like to see as parent education going forward. So Susan's already planned it. We already have Saturday schools in place, prepared to conduct our parent information sessions. It is with great honor that I'm going to turn the podium over shortly to Susan so she can expound a little bit more about what it is we are going to attempt to do and how we're going to bring this greatness. But know that we have a centralized district response team ready to go with Susan's going to let you know about the models that we are going to create at each school and how we are going to help bring forward wellness throughout the district. So without further ado, I introduce Susan Hirsch.
Thank you so much. And honestly, I appreciate all of the accolades, but it takes an absolute team. This is a community effort, and no one person can do this without the support and the help of absolutely everyone. Healing Connections began, as most of you know, since it is a Golden Bell winner, many, many years ago, on the heels of a series of tragic teen suicides. And at that time, our former mayor, Marianne Lutz, and our former superintendent put their heads together and said, this has to stop. And so they brought in all of the area service providers to develop what has evolved into Healing Connections. And in the first years, our only focus was on stopping and preventing teen suicide. And we have accomplished that. But we don't stop there. We don't just pat ourselves on the back and say, yay for us, we stopped having completed suicides, because any of us who work in the schools and work with our youth know that the reality is that for every student that we stop that's on the edge, there's 100 that are standing there walking up to the edge. I know that on a daily basis in the Wellness Center, we're dealing with kids who are troubled with deep trauma. And the percentage, the numbers of our students and our families that are dealing with events and struggles that are sometimes beyond belief, the numbers are astronomical. And so I'm thrilled that we were able to, a year and a half ago, as a Healing Connections group, come together at a retreat and say, this is great that we've come this far, but now we need to take the next steps. And so what I talked about was how many students are on the edge, ready to take the leap, but not doing so. And so the idea that I had was to back up and get to the very root causes of what might get a student there. And what we see are all of the challenges that we all experience in life. And those challenges, some of us have the resiliency to deal with, and some of us need some help. Everybody needs help in this life. And so we developed a year-round planning calendar rather than just a couple times a year going out to the schools and doing in-reaches and giving education community-wide. What we did was our year-round planning calendar is strategically planned so that we have quarterly themes and we focus all of our assemblies, our parent workshops, our Saturday schools, all of these things focused in one particular area so that together, community-wide, all of us are a mighty force. We have a student club now on the high school. In addition to the Wellness Center, we started a Healing Connections Club. So our students are involved in the same planning and work and do the outreach. And that's the basis, really, of the concept of our Wellness Center, which honestly goes back to the days, some of you will remember, when we had the Family Learning Center and brought community into schools. And so this is a concept that is nationwide. It's called the Community Schools Project, and it brings all the forces of our community into our schools so that we all together can provide absolutely every bit of force to help our schools. As I said, we have completed our first year at the high school. It's a beautiful flagship wellness center. I invite you all to come. And we're looking forward to, in our next year's, expanding to that wellness center concept to the rest of our schools so that everyone has that support. We've already migrated out to those centers and those school sites with support. I will conclude this with saying that many people, if you've heard me speak before, many people talk about this being developing a web of support. And I will say that I'm not in the business of developing a web of support because there are too many holes in a web. I'm in the business of creating a solid trampoline, because every kid that falls, I want them to bounce on that trampoline and come back up with all the resiliency to meet their challenges, and we will all be there to help them. Thank you.
So we're here to answer any of the questions that you may have about the board policy. We are going to be focusing on the youth that LGBT. As we know, they have a higher depression and suicide rate. So Susan and I will be developing curriculum in collaboration with Amy Collier and the counselors. We want you to know that we also will be having a meeting in the fall with the stakeholders, the DLAC team, the DDAC team, the school site teams, and we're a wonderful suggestion by Mr. Board Member Williams was, Lisa, do you think we can schedule these meetings at 6 o'clock, 6:30 at night after our parents have had the opportunity to go home, check on their kids, and then maybe grab a bite, come to the meetings? And we took it a step further with our conversation. Instead of having the parents leave their communities to come to the school board room, Susan and I and the team will travel out to the school sites so that we can outreach better to our families. So having said that, if there's any questions, Susan and I are here to answer them, and we welcome them right now.
I think I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Ms. Huff?
Board Member Williams?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board President Wong?
Yes.
Motion
Wow.
carries 4-0.
That was a pretty magical moment, I guess. I'm not sure what happened there.
Lisa and Susan, I'd just like to say that the students that left here from Monrovia during the transition, unfortunately, my daughter was close to one of the young ladies, and of course, everybody knows Dee DeSalvo. Luke was close to him. I told all of them about this, and we need to probably reach out to those kids, just to let them know that
Absolutely.
we have moved up. So this is just awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And did you let them know that I invited you and you said yes to be one of our first trained California State mental health first aid certificates? So board member Mr. Williams has decided, yes, I'm going to show the community that strong men do get involved, and that even though some families might shy away from this topic, he is going to be a leader in our community and join us in our first round of parent instruction.
My son, Sam, has ordained me in this capacity, so I am ready. Now, this is awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Who's the guilty person?
If we can move on to item 3, board member reports. Mr. Williams?
Actually, Board President, I did share earlier with regards to the Board Policy 5141.2, which we're discussing now.
Thank you. Dr. Throsey?
Just a couple of items. First, I wanted to, we had so many wonderful promotions and opportunities to celebrate what we do. This was the first year I had actually attended the Wild Rose promotion, and I thought they'd done something really neat that I'd not seen anywhere else, where the students line up on either side and the promoting class walks through this aisle and really kind of says, they get just a beautiful send-off before they are recognized publicly with their parents as they walk out to the front of the school. Of course, the Monrovia High School graduation was also extraordinary. We had a lot of graduates, and we had 53 scholarships were awarded to 71 students, totaling over $90,000. So really an extraordinary year and a beautiful graduation. And finally, just as a, yeah, oh, you didn't. Just as a reminder, we have the King and I performing at the Performing Arts Center on July 13th, and that weekend. Information will be on our website.
Thank you very much. On to item 5, public comments for items not on the agenda. Ms. Huff, do we have any speakers?
Board President Wong, the first request to speak comes from Ann Battle.
Ms. Battle?
Oh,
That's fine.
okay.
No problem.
Then the next request to speak comes from Susan Hirsch.
Ms. Hirsch?
Good evening again, President Wong, board members, Dr. Tarosian, cabinet, and community members. This evening, I'm happy to provide the Community Services Commission update for you, and I'm especially happy it's this week because day after tomorrow on Friday is our very first teen scene event in Library Park, so otherwise known as Friday Night Live. This is our 7th year. This is actually another program that is an offshoot of what we did with Healing Connections, because each one of those suicides took place in the summer, and we realized that we needed to be more connected to our students during the summer. And so Council Member Larry Spicer and several others and I put our heads together and came up with what was originally called the Square One Project, Meet Them Where They Are. And we decided that we needed to meet them in Library Park because that's where they like to hang out. And Meet Them Where They Are also meant to do the activities that are magnetic and engage them in positive, proactive ways. So this summer, along with Teen Scene, which is from 7 to 9 o'clock every Friday, we also have the Summer Leadership Academy, which we've had every year as well. We have participants from Monrovia High School, from Canyon Oaks, from Duarte High School, from Boys Republic, all participating. And that is supported by both the City of Duarte and Monrovia and our Sheriff Department, the police, our firefighters, just about every partner that you can imagine in the community. And we have free food. And I think our board is well aware that we have free food. And I especially want to invite our community to come out and partake of the free food on Friday, July 21st, when our board members will be serving the meal to our youth.
Ribs and chicken.
You put in a special order? Okay. I'm looking forward to it. So that Friday event, how about a pie eating contest? Come on, guys.
Well, we participated, but some other people cheated, so.
So it runs from this Friday, June 16th through August 4th. Again, the hours for students participating or youth or families coming out is from 7 to 9. a variety of activities. We went with giant games this year, so there's going to be giant Jenga and giant chess and lots of different activities. We have all of our bands that participated in the Battle of the Bands that will be opening the event, and a good time for all. The cornerstone of this also is that all of our service providers, our agencies who are a part of the Wellness Center, will also have tables there for our youth to connect. So this is a great event, and I look forward to sharing each Friday evening with our participants. The next item that I want to celebrate is that our YES program is off to a great start. It started on Monday the 12th. We have 11 interns who are paired with city personnel and will be working throughout the summer. We also have, as a celebration of our Monrovia renewal dedication, at Lucinda Garcia Park on Thursday, June 22nd at 4 p.m. And then we also, this summer, will be doing construction on Julian Fisher Park. So the second phase of Julian Fisher is about to launch, and we're very excited at the plans that are going to be underway this summer. Our information for the community will be provided on Wednesday, June 21st, at 7 p.m. at Julian Fisher Park. Then again at the MAP quarterly meeting on Saturday, July 1st from 11 to 1. So I hope our community members will be able to come to those meetings and find out all the wonderful things that are going to happen at Julian Fisher Park. And then finally, of course, our 4th of July celebration on 4th of July at Library Park with fireworks, music, the presentation, the event begins at 7 o'clock with fireworks at 9 o'clock. You can reserve space in a canopy as early as 6 a.m. on the 4th of July. And believe me, there are people standing in line waiting for that 6 a.m. And so to celebrate the canopies this year, we're going to have a patriotic canopy decorating contest. So I really invite everyone to come out and enjoy all of these events put on by our city in conjunction with our community partners. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share this information.
Thank you. Item 6, public comments for items on the open session agenda. Ms. Huff? That's fine. Whatever you want, Ann.
I'll do that when you add it.
Perfect.
There are none. There are none.
I'm not sure. Are there any other people who would like to speak to the board?
Shaking his head.
Just making sure. Hearing none, we'll move to item J, consent agenda. Routine items of business placed on the consent agenda have been carefully been screened by members of the staff and will be acted upon by the board with one motion upon request of any person. An item on the consent agenda may be reconsidered separately at its location on its meeting's agenda. Do we have any items to be pulled? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Ms. Huff?
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Williams?
Yes.
Board President Wong?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Item K1, public hearing for local control accountability plan. Dr. Kaiser?
Good evening, board and community. I would like to invite Amy Collier to come join me at the podium, and we will share a short presentation on our LCAP to sort of summarize the process and the pieces of our local control accountability plan. To start with, we're going to talk a little bit about what we look at as we're developing the updates for our plan, and we look at several different metrics that are considered our multiple measures. And the first one that we take into consideration are our Smarter Balanced results, which are the high stakes testing in the state of California in English language arts and math. And as we look at that, we look at our subgroups and we look at the achievement of those groups to be able to begin to figure out what remedies we need to close achievement gaps in our district. We also, as a local measure, we look at the reading inventory and the math inventory in our elementary, middle, and high school, which measures general progress in reading and general progress in math that helps us really identify individual students that need help along the continuum of success. We look at our English language learners' progress in terms of multiple measures and their redesignation rates. We look at suspension rates, and we look at graduation rates. I'm going to, as we do our annual update, we look at what is working well and what's not working as well as expected, and what is it that we need to modify. So these are some of the questions that we begin to ask as we are researching the programs that we want to bring into our district funded by our supplemental and concentration funding. I'm going to have Amy talk a little bit about how the accountability dashboard plays into the LCAP as the state has gone to great lengths to begin to align our high stakes accountability with our funding models.
I see now that you do not have the complete and updated version of this. So as soon as I turn it back over to Dr. Kaiser, I'll run and get you the extra copies. So this dashboard is really what we're going to be looking toward every year when we look at our LCAP. The measures that Dr. Kaiser mentioned about what we are looking at to say, how are we growing? Are we spending the money well? Are we achieving what we need to achieve? This will become a very familiar view for our community, for board members, as I look around and see kind of how we've tracked our growth over the years and wondering how we might think about this new system. But the goal is to have blues and greens. And in the LCAP, we are directed to address any red areas that we see and any orange. So specifically, we need to say, what are we doing for those students in those measures? The other thing is if one of the measures in any sub or any group is too below the average whole group, we need to make sure we're addressing. So it's a much more focused look at student achievement and really having the LCAP specifically address how we are meeting the needs of those students.
No, I'll just talk.
Okay, very good.
Don't worry about it. Okay. In terms of the process, our local control accountability plan is developed with the assistance of a LCAP advisory committee. In our Ed Code sections 52062 and 52066 require that the local education agency provide opportunities for consultation and comment when developing and updating their LCAP. And the purpose of this group that meets together, we have our group meet 3 times in the spring, is to provide the committee with consultation and comment on the actions and services that have been outlined in the LCAP. And so in these 3 meetings, the community comes together, which is comprised of board members, Teachers Association members, CSCA, teachers, and classified employees, and administrators. At first, we report on the most current quantitative results, which are taken from those metrics that I've shared, and we gather input from the committee looking at pluses, minuses, and gaps. We seek consultation from staff and faculty, parents and guardians, and student surveys. Committee reviews these and makes recommendations, and then we present a draft budget and review and provide consultation. So the purpose of these meetings is for the community to come together and to give consultation on the actions and services that are being recommended for our LCAP. The next group that has input is our District Advisory Committee and our District English Language Learners Committee, the DAC and the DLAC. This is an existing parent advisory group that meets the requirements. And what they do is they provide written comments to the superintendent, which the superintendent must respond to in writing. And they also provide advice on what they are seeing are actions and services that within the LCAP in terms of their agreement or their disagreement with those actions and services. So then we move to where we are tonight, or for our next meeting. With the board approval, we first have a public hearing, which will happen tonight. There's a draft of the annual update and the budget available for public viewing and comment, which is out in the lobby. The public comments are addressed in writing by the superintendent and become part of the plan's narrative. Then the board approval takes place in a separate meeting prior to June 30th, whereby the board adopts and the revised LCAP. And the LCAP is submitted to LACO, who submits to the state. Once approved, the funds are allocated to the district. And so with that, we have submitted the budget and the process for the public hearing tonight. Any questions?
No problem.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Is that motion to have a hearing?
Yeah, I know, it's not really an action item, but it is to have a hearing.
That's a good question.
We're just providing the forum for a hearing.
I don't think this is an action item.
Yeah,
This was a hearing.
But I do have some
Just
comments.
open the hearing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Kaiser and Ms. Collier, for your information and for all of your work. And as most of you know, Board Member Hammond and I were representatives to LCAP meetings this year. And this was my first year as Board Member Hammond's second year. And it is a great deal of work you all put in to get this all together. It's $6 million plus that we receive, and they determine with input from stakeholders and staff where this money goes. And as a participant in the meeting of the LCAP meetings, my first year, I appreciate all the work that goes into it by the stakeholders, the staff, the faculty, and all those involved. And I shared my concern at the meetings about some of the processes by which we gather data and analyze that data. And it's the same concerns that Board Member Hammond had a year ago before I came aboard again to look at this. So while I appreciate all of the work, and it's not an attack on the content, it's a concern about the processes by which we gather this information to help determine the direction for this $6+ million. And Dr. Terosian and I have had some conversations and am confident that these concerns will be addressed in moving forward. And thank you all for all the work you do in helping determine the direction for these funds.
Perfect. I think in order to do this correctly, I need to open a public hearing and to take any public comment that there may be. If I hear none, I'm going to close the hearing and then ask if there are any other comments or questions the board may have. Hearing none, we will move forward to item 2, obsolete textbooks and instructional material. Dr. Terosian?
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kaiser, who will explain how this is ordinarily a consent item. It is an item that part of our routine business, but as there was some discussion within the community about our process, I thought this might be a nice opportunity to explain what happens to our old textbooks when we adopt new ones. Dr. Kaiser.
Yes, the process in Monrovia that we take is when there's an adoption of new textbooks, we need to clear out the obsolete textbooks that are not aligned to our current state standards. And we use a process through our purchasing department to bring a company named Follett in, who buys our materials from us, the obsolete materials. And so they are bundled in containers and sent to the Follett publisher, who resells them to agencies that are within private schools or charter schools or international schools. And the materials that have been written in, such as workbooks or the unusable materials, those are discarded. The district is compensated for the obsolete textbooks. And so we do go through that process. We're going through that process with California Treasures by McGraw-Hill and Literature Language Arts by Holt and Glencoe Literature by Glencoe.
So to be clear, no textbooks are thrown away or shredded other than workbooks that are meant to be disposable. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And the district is compensated for all the textbooks that are taken away by this particular company.
That is correct.
In addition, teachers are welcome to keep whatever items they believe they would be using the following year, and parents have an opportunity to pick up anything they think might be valuable to take home and use with their children.
So the sites make any of those materials that are given or sold, I should say, to this outside vendor, parents and teachers have first choice to retain these. Correct? Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 3, public hearing on the 2017-18 proposed budget. At this time, I'd like to open that public hearing. Ms. Wu.
Good evening, President Wang, Board of Education, and Dr. Teresian, and Kevin, and the audience. The 17-18 budget, back to March, the board approved the second interim report. We provided the basic information with the governor released the May revision as the May guideline for the district prepared 17-18 adult budget. There are some assumption for revenue projection has been changed, and also we have some event happen impact the district cost. Such event as we finalized the retirement incentive plan for the certificate non-management employee, and also the district received a good rate for the next year health insurance. Normally, our rate is around 9%, but the next year the rate of increase only 3%. And also, a couple of weeks ago, we did the board study section for the athletic program budget need in the high school. We presented the 10 years need, and as a result of the need, we will increase the budget for the MHS athletic program, such as the equipment, such as the uniform, as well as the facility maintenance. This slide shows the changes since the May revision. And for the 16-17, because of the gap funding and percentage decrease, we will have less revenue, only $10,000. However, for the 17-18, due to the increase of the gap funding from the 23.67 to 46.97, we will experience more revenue, around $406,116. For the one-time and discretionary funding, originally, before May revision, it said that the district projected $48 per 8A, but the May revision said that the district actually will not receive funding during the 17-18 school year. As a result, in this adult budget, we will not budget the funding which is promised, but the district did not receive. This is the pie for our total cost for 17-18, and personnel cost increase salary and benefit for the certificate classified and administrator is total 85% of our district budget. The supplies for the books and supplies around the around 4%, and the operation cost is around 12%. This is the snapshot for the multi-year projection from the 16-17 school year, which is the current school year, and the next 3 future years. And we project that this year we will not deficit spending, and in the next 3 years we will, and because of the revenue decrease and the increased cost. As you can tell that from 16-17 to next year 17-18, our revenue actually decreased $2.7 million. When out of $2.7 million, $1 million as a result of the projected decline in enrollment, and over $1.1 million is because of the one-time discretionary funding. We budget this year, and we did not budget next year because the governor said that they were not funding us. And also, as the board recall that this year we also finished the project at the MHS as a result of fire. So we received the reimbursement from the insurance company, but this will not happen next year. So that amount is around $470,000. So 19-20, which is a year for adult budget, we will experience challenge because at that time we project that right now the ending funding balance is a little bit less $700,000, which is much less than the $1.9 million we are required by Ed Code as a 3% reserve. So if we in compliance with Ed Code and with other unexpendable and carryover most likely is assigned. This funding cannot use for any negotiation or daily operation. Then we are looking at the $3.2 million deficit right now. This slide explains why our cost is increased. Mainly is the pension plan for both classified and certificated employee. When I joined this business, at that time, the district contribution rate for the certificate employee is at 8.25%, which is the, the second part of the matrix. And up to 13-14, that percentage has not been changed. However, from 14-15, there's a 0.53, but the 15-16 is a huge jump, is 1.85. And from 15-16 until 19-20, every year is a 1.85% over the last years. For the classified employee card purse, and the rate before 15-16 is all around 11, starting with 11.32, then gradual increase with 0.%. However, this year we are experiencing almost 2% increase. So the top Excel sheet showed that the dollar amount impact from the huge rate spiking for the certificate employee from 14-15 to 15-16, district actually add of $600,000 more contributed the car service. And then for 16-17 is the 2% increase for the classified employee. District will contribute around less than $100,000. So over the years, the board can tell that the district will contribute more than $500,000 for the pension plan for all the entire district employee who is entitled for receive the pension plan contribution. For this slide is, beside the general fund, our major operation fund, we also have the adult child development and the child nutrition with the food service. And so far, we are fortunate that this fund all still continue to self-support, which is the district, they are not required district general fund to contribution. But with the cost increase at a certain point, we will see the challenge for this fund to continue self-support. So after May revision and a month later, we heard that there's some changes from the May revision. First of all is the state decide that they will fund one-time money for 17-18. That will be around $146 per ADA. And there will be quota for the mandate program, which is small down for $3,000, and the $49,000 additionally. This is for the village program, which is a Tom's program. This is a category program, so this is separate. And this additional changes, which hopefully tomorrow it is the constitutional deadline for the legislature to acting on the expenditure plan for next school year. So if the governor just signed this additional change into their budget, then we will incorporate in our 45 days revision as required by Ed Code. Another important change is incorporate this 45 days revision is our negotiation settlement. At the later on, the board will conduct a public hearing for the one-time 1.5% salary increase for all the bargaining unit. And then once the board finalizes in June 28th board meeting, then we will revise our budget. So if we take all this consideration for the increase of revenue and as well as the cost increase as a result of the negotiation, then here is revised the unrestricted general fund budget. We will add the revenue revision as because we're including the one-time discretionary funding about $782,000 for next year only, and $3,000 quota for the mandated reimbursement block grant. And we're also including the 1.5% negotiation settlement. The general fund portion is a cost around $584,000. So as a result, we were able to have 1.9 averages the Ed Code required 3% reserve for the next 2 years, but in 1920 we will have a challenge. So as a result, for the unassigned, unappropriate part, which is for our any purpose operation, we will have $8.5 million at the end of this year. And the next 2 years, we will have 6.1 and 18, 19, and 1.4. But in the 1920, we will see that we are in the negative for $4.8 million. This deficit actually is much better compared with the information I share with the board for the projection for $7 million is because of the one-time funding money, and as well as we changed our practice a little bit because at this time we try to project more close when compared with the actual the actual any funding balance versus adult budget. So we know that a certain program will not spend all the money, such a donation account. We experience some little carryover from supplemental concentration also because the spending plan will cover next year. So we set this dollar amount aside. Because of this is a reserve, not additional expenditure, so our deficit will decrease. Any question about the 17-18 adult budget?
Are there any comments or questions from the board? This budget is there's a number of things there that people need to realize what's going on. The reason why things continue to decline as far as ending balances go is the state's inability to manage their pension funds. And if you go back to that slide, you'll see where basically, if you look back at the beginning, where in 2014, for example, the district pays about $2.2 million to retirement funds, but in the 1920, we're looking at about $4.6 million. That difference basically comes on the back of the students of this district. This comes out of the general fund. there's no other way to pay for these retirement funds other than to take it out of the classroom, either directly or indirectly by the way we compensate our teachers and other staff members. That's something that's completely out of our control. And as the budgets change, these are the type of things that we have to deal with. We've also, the reason that our ending balance, even after we go through hopefully we can complete our most current year, is substantially less of a deficit than it has been projected even earlier this year, is the board is trying to make a very concerted effort in getting our balances to as close as possible what we're actually projecting, so we don't have so many third-year anomalies. Our goal, and it's best for all parties involved, is to make sure things are as transparent as possible so we can all work together to find solutions. But I'm sure many people are looking at that negative saying, how is this possible? What are we going to do? All parties are involved understand where we're at, and we will start negotiating almost immediately on how the best way we can attack that deficit and keep the amount of harm away from our children so we can do what this district's job is, which is to educate children. We are aware of this, and everybody is working to figure out how to reduce it. Are there any other comments or questions? Hearing none.
I think this is a public hearing item too, isn't it?
Thank you. Sorry. So with that, we will, do we have any comments or questions from the audience? Hearing none, I will close the hearing, and we will move on to item 4, agreement with Merged Risk Management JPA for special education transportation services. Ms. Wu?
Yes, Board. Earlier this evening, we conducted the special education discussion, and the district continue our effort to reduce our cost for special education, because the special education each year the general fund contribute millions of dollars. So when the district take back the SELBA from the LEGO, we contract directly for Hammond Unified School District to transfer our special education case. At that time, they provide a flat dollar. So first year, the district experienced a saving from the transportation cost. However, over the years, each year they increase the per student's cost. And the quota they provide the district for next year, they increase from 7 to 10% per students. So by contract merge, instead of contract Helmet directed, because merge is a 5-district JPA, they contract Helmet for provided the transportation service. Because by contract director to merge JPA, we'll experience the saving for the per student's transportation rate. So merge JPA board has approved our contract with them last week, and by board approves this contract, our per student's cost for the transportation actually is lower, even lower our this year's person's cost rate.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments, questions? Ms. Huff?
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Williams?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Wong?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Item 5, public disclosure of proposed collective bargaining agreement. Mr. Jackson, do we have a speaker beforehand? Just want to verify. Why don't you, Ms. Battle, if you can have your comment first, and then Dr. Jackson afterwards.
Too bad. We're going so well. Good evening, Dr. Terosian, board and cabinet members. My name is Ann Battle, and I continue to serve as president of the Monrovia Teachers Association. I'm here to let you know that our collaborative bargaining process is still working thanks to the willingness of both teams to continue to seek a solution to difficult negotiations. Thank you to the board for believing in Dr. Tarosian's ability to resolve the issues which not only threaten to break the collaborative process, but also would sever ties among various union groups. Thank you also to the teachers and CSEA members for their patience as we worked through a very difficult bargaining process. To not reach a successful settlement would have had a very negative effect on a school district as a whole. Because we want to continue to work successfully together, Dr. Rosian and I have agreed to have our representatives meet to work on issues affecting employee morale. And also, MTA will continue to meet with the board members, if you're willing, to keep our lines of communication flowing. Our desire to remain collaborative has been sorely tested this year, and neither Dr. Tarosian nor I wish to repeat this situation. We shall start to rebuild the currently less than solid foundation so that it supports the positive outcome that we all desire. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Battle. Dr. Jackson?
Yes, I'll introduce this agenda item. The Board of Education is requested to receive for public disclosure, as required by AB 1200, the summary of a tentative agreement with the Monrovia Teachers Association, California School Employees Association, the Monrovia Association of School Administrators, and confidential classified management for 2016-2017. And as a follow-up, as you're aware, the district conducted a total compensation salary comparison study using comparable sized districts and 2015-2016 figures as a benchmark. Based on language in the MTA contract, this offering of 1.5% retroactive to July 1st, 2016 allows MUSD to remain competitive, attracting and retaining highly qualified teachers and staff members.
Any comments or questions? If I'm not mistaken, with this particular agreement that we have on the table, this would mean that our teachers are paid better than 75% of the districts that you just mentioned. Is that correct?
Or pretty close to it, yes.
Very close to 75% better?
Yes.
Fantastic. Do we have any other comments or questions?
I think maybe you inadvertently said that wrong, Brian. I think you said they're paid 75% better. I
Paid
think
better
you
than
meant they're paid
75%
better
of-
than 75%
Thank
of
you.
the adjacent districts, yeah. They would love to be paid 75% better. That would be.
Thank you for the clarification. So of the districts we were paid, our teacher salaries are better than 75% of the people on that list. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Did I get my grammar correct? Thank you. All righty. Item 6, agreement with public agency retirement services. Is this, Dr. Jackson, is this also you, PARS agreement? No, Connie?
It is. I'll go ahead and introduce it, Connie. The Board of Education is requested to approve the agreement with Public Agency Retirement Services, PARS, Pacific Life and U.S. Bank to implement and administer the district's 403B supplementary retirement plan for certificated and non-management employees. And just to highlight the rationale, the Board of Education's approval will allow the district to process and administer the 403B supplementary retirement plan, execute contracts, custodial agreements with U.S. Bank, annuity purchases with Pacific Life, and other legal documents related to the program. As you may recall, we spent significant time this fall vetting the companies that would serve as a custodial of this account. As a reminder as well, there will be a $298,615,000 annual district contribution to the plan for the next 5 years effective July 1st, 2017. Retirees will begin receiving benefits effective August 2017.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I just want to confirm that those expenses to the district have already been incorporated in the existing budgets that you just showed. Is that
That's correct.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Ms. Huff?
Board Member Williams?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board President Wong?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Item 8, proposed 2017-18 board meeting schedule. Dr. Thorosian.
A list of proposed meeting dates for next year has been presented. It includes our joint meetings with the Personnel Commission, and it has yet to include meetings with the city.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions? Ms. Huff?
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Williams?
Yes.
Board President Wong?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Item 9, pending board issues. Dr. Thorosian.
Just a note about our trip to advocate in Washington, D.C. for fully funding special education. What Dr. Jackson, Ms. Wu, and I will do is work together with Kitty Louie to finalize those budget items that we have and present them to the board by Friday as part of this week's update.
Perfect.
Could you also make sure that we've got a place for the 6 of us to meet on the 21st before we go to the first legislative office? Just so we make sure we've got our
I will
story straight.
I will schedule our meeting, and we'll have it posted.
In Friday's package, hopefully we can have a small folder or something of all the items we'll need so we can discuss. Perfect. Any other items to add or delete? Hearing none, we'll move to old business. The next board meeting will be June the 28th. Which our superintendent will be absent, so I'm sure we'll have some super guest fill-in.
I'll be absent also.
Well, there goes our guest. We'll come up with a new guest. So Mr. Gillen will also be absent. And then we will go to item M, new business, schools to watch ceremony in Washington, D.C., which is what we had just discussed. The board, or most of the board, will be attending not only the ceremony, but we'll be speaking to a good number of our legislators on many of the problems that we're facing, many of which we discussed regarding fundings. Summer school, there are summer school at the elementary schools at Brad Oaks, Monroe, and Plymouth, the middle school at both middle schools, and at the high school. We'll adjourn the board meeting at 8:40.
Yes, a mobilized force of the board converge on Washington, D.C.
Yeah,
Not me.
beware.
Judy Chu.